I thought you were... I were going.
Are we rolling?
We're rolling.
Rolling.
Touching
Catch me
tips.
rolling.
Touching. All right, touch tips. Right.
Everybody but Rob.
You missed the tip touch.
You missed the tip touch.
Did I miss the tip touch? I'm sorry. Are we tip touching?
I love it.
Is that gay or no?
How are you doing, lads? Welcome back to the Naked and Famous podcast. My name's Dan O'Cattle.
I'm Rob Vieira.
Hey, folks, Jimmy B.
And I'm Julio Santos.
Today we're doing a special episode called our tinfoil hat episode. So, welcome and enjoy. All
Should we
right.
tell them what this episode's about?
Starting off, I suppose the episode's about lies filled with more lies and with reality, I suppose.
Essences of
Just put it-
truth.
Just not. Most of it's probably nonsense. Honestly, like most of it's probably nonsense. Most of it's probably absolute nonsense. But if some of it's not, that's a lot.
I call it reading between the lines.
Reading between, what's the lines?
Which lines?
Only the lines I see, my friend.
I like to think about these as like the global rumor. It's like the rumor amongst the people. And they're like, you know what? I think this happened. And then it circulates.
For lack of a better term, Chinese whispers.
Pretty much. Yeah, Chinese whispers. Like, for example, something that happened recently was...
Are you allowed to use that term now?
What do you call it? Asian whispers?
Yeah, we just did. So I don't.
Tinfoil hat whispers. Tinfoil whispers.
Speaking of tinfoil hat, Julio, do you know the origins of the tinfoil hat?
I think the tinfoil hat was like a party hat until like the 1920s when it became like when it was used in a short story as like a means of protection for like electromagnetic waves and like mind control. You know?
I definitely feel like I can't have my mind controlled right now.
You don't think so?
No.
I don't know if that's what I feel, but I definitely feel something. I feel like not only is there like a tinfoil hat on my head, but I feel like my brainwaves don't get out the same way as they would, or something else doesn't get in.
I think you're signaling into like you're honing into one signal.
Yeah, do you not feel a little fuzzy inside your head? I feel a little fuzzy.
Yeah, I'm not even lying, but I do.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like concentrated in it.
Yeah.
I'm
I
telling
don't
you,
feel
we
anything
had
yet.
Maybe it's just the heat.
It might be the heat.
Maybe it's just the heat. The heat's not getting out.
You
of
do
my
have
head.
tinfoil, right?
I guess.
We're cooking.
But yeah, I like to think about these as the global rumor amongst the people. And you
So
know that
the first
rumors come up out of
conspiracy
everywhere.
that I like is the conspiracy of the word conspiracy. The conspiracy theory. The original.
Right, take us down that path.
The term conspiracy theory just originating from the CIA pushing it through media so that when people speak of some suspicious activity going on in their government, they have a phrased word used and developed into society's, mind.
Psyche.
Yeah, into the psyche of the people that, this is shrouded in questionable,
like it's already
what
a
ifs.
definition.
Yeah.
Like it's
exactly.
already
If we tell you something and we say this is a conspiracy theory, now you're already questioning, it's probably just some nut job in a tinfoil hat doing it, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't that genius
And
move?
When you put the tinfoil hat on, then you can be the nut job. To sit in the tinfoil hat in the shoes of the nut job and to look out through all the conspiracy theories, you can see parts of it where you're like, some of this actually looks like it makes sense from here inside my tinfoil hat right now. But then I'm sure from the outside there's some reasonable explanations. But the term conspiracy theory specifically being developed to indoctrinate people's thoughts when they're, anything
Questioning.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first. I'm sure there's many conspiracy theories before that, but that's the first one that I like to think of because I'm like, that one's hilarious because that one we know is true. We know that that's where the term comes from. This is where it's at. But it's more just to keep you away. Some of them are silly, right? Like, give us what do you got a silly one?
Conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
That the world's flat?
There's a silly one for you, right? The world's flat. That's silly. But then even when you go into it, it's like in the Bible, it's not described as a globe. You know, so then you're into a whole thing of like, you've got Bible versus science. And then sometimes people kind of work these two work together. They make this little like union where they're like, oh no, like I'll be the you know, the theory of evolution, and I'll also practice like Christianity or Judaism or Catholicism, and I'll pretend that what was written in the book has like an additive that we just forgot to leave in there, that over a long period of time after God built these people, this happened. Right? That they don't correlate, but people will just reason with it and make reason for it. But really, I suppose there's a lot of like conspiracy theories linked from Bible to science, right? Where you're like, just like you said, the earth's flat, right? The 4 pillars, that's like biblical. And then you've got, obviously, the actual version of, you know, our solar system, which is laid out where everything's like pretty level. And the sun's like whatever, 400 times smaller than the moon, and they, you know, do an eclipse and everything works out kind of perfectly, and they spin at the same time, so we only see one side of the moon. All just the way the whole solar system works. It's almost like it's by design, right? It's almost like it's by intelligent design. It's done so well. It's
It
like
is-
so perfect.
It is by design.
Right.
If you look at like nature and you look at plants, animals, like fossils, whatever you're looking at, like you get into the whole structure of like Fibonacci, the golden ratio. You know how there's a certain pattern in like in anything that you see that can be broken down mathematically. And that's like it gets to the whole thing where like I like you go down a realm of like sacred geometry and everything, where by repeating this pattern and seeing it, like, you know, when people take like hallucinatory drugs, you know, they see like geometry everywhere, and it's just like there's structure to everything. And I think that's because there is like one encompassing creator, you know, like one thing that
Right, but both would be, let's say you've got like the simulation theory, like you've got conspiracy theory that we're in a simulation, right?
but that wouldn't you think that is a simulation?
what
though?
I'm saying
That
is,
that
like,
is a
right-
simulation.
It's just two different ways. Like one is an intelligent design by maybe like people,
God.
yeah, or God is like, you know, through the Bible's way of it, or
Think
a
of like a
simulation.
programmer.
Yeah, it's like true. Like, but even then, is he the only one? Like you could
I
get
don't
out a
think so.
simulation, and there could be like one programmer, but there could be like a million workers, 22 guys working on, you know, fixing stuff.
Well, it's like look at human beings. Like how many codes and how many code crackers and hackers are there? You know, and some are way better than others. That like some can get into your like your bank account, like completely steal your identity.
Yeah,
So like I think in that sense, this is one of them, but like there might be multiple.
That's what
you
I'm
know how they
saying.
say there's multiple
right.
dimensions.
Whereas
and
with
everything?
God, there's not. With God, there's just one. Like if you're going by the biblical, if you're following the word of God through like, you know, the
Well, that
Old
depends on what
Testament and the
religion.
New Testament, that's not the case. There's like one. There's one God. There's
What
not
about
multiple
Hinduism
creators.
with like deities and gods and, you know?
Yeah, well, Hinduism for sure, but I'm just talking about like the simulation, the battle between like
Science and
science and I suppose like the Bibles, right? Because you've got a lot of people. I don't actually know if with Hinduism, do the people believe in? Can you be a Hinduist and believe in the theory of evolution? Whereas you can't be a Christian or a Catholic and believe in the theory of evolution, or you are and you don't truly follow just the word of God and Jesus.
That's an interesting point because now you're like,
whose indoctrination is stronger?
now you're kind of
Well,
following two
fo-
ideologies
yeah,
that conflict.
They're intertwined.
Yeah, they
as it is.
basically shake hands. They form a union.
But it's
right?
almost
so
like-
to not question it. It's like it's not.
It
It's
doesn't
like-
make sense. Like this is the most probable thing that makes sense in this linear kind of structure, until it doesn't make sense. You know, until you start reading into like other scripts or other like looking at other cultures, other religions.
Yeah.
You know, but in everyone, I think there are similarities that connect every single one of them.
Yeah.
You know, so I think there could be like multiple. I think they coincide with one another, science and religion in a sense, but like there's something that's being kept from the people that
Right.
connects the two.
What do you think?
I don't know. I feel
I
like
think we're like two slices of bread and the peanut butter just is hidden in a cupboard somewhere.
maybe like it's I don't know, but I think like people like to separate them, but I think they might be separated by design. How you're saying,
Right.
You
That's
know?
definitely true. You can see that play out in the world in front of our own eyes. And now, like, men and women have been separated. Like, the argument that men and women are... You talk to most people about the differences, like, let me rephrase that. If you speak to most people about the differences between men and women, they're like, no, there's no such thing. And they'll fight you on it. There's a divide between men and women. There's a divide between whites and blacks, Hispanics and Asians. There's a divide between different countries. There's a divide between different ideologies. There's divides everywhere.
by design.
By design?
Yeah, of course. How
You
would
reckon
come
But
out-
it's
is
by
it
design?
is it
Yeah.
the one how we were talking about? If there is a God, right? If we say there is God, is it His design or is this other people's design to not get you to believe into one thing, into one being?
Yeah, well, that's like, right. If there is a God, then there is a Satan. And if there is a Satan, then wouldn't he create a brilliant tactic to get people to not follow God? It's basically where you're saying,
Yeah,
right? Just
essentially.
without adding Satan into it. But that's like, if you're trying to play two sides of the story, right?
There's always
You
two
can't
forces.
believe in one without believing in the other.
There's always
No.
two forces. Like, isn't
But
that-
you can believe in one. You can believe in one without believing in. You can believe in Satan without believing in God, because Satan creates creates outlets for you to worship him without acknowledging God with his lies, right? Like if you like, just like example, like what you say, like if you're non-religious, right? If it was a God and Satan battle, you're on Satan's side. He won that battle because he took
At
you.
the moment,
Yeah, at the moment, right? But
where we are in contemporary
what?
times.
So James says there's a lot of divides just around the world. What's the goal of the divides? Because we're actually more unionized, I feel like, around the world than probably ever before, bar obviously the wars with Ukraine and Russia, but in general, like with humanity. Because people, like, right, we're closer to one world government than we've ever been. But yet there's more divides than we've ever had.
That's an interesting point that you bring up. If you want to, we can definitely segue into this, and it's something I think I personally would be interested in talking about. But the division creates smaller factions to control and conquer. All right, and it's been a tactic throughout war forever. Right, the whole one world government that we're going towards will require everybody to be on the same ideology. Now, if you're going to all subscribe to the same thing, you need everybody to be on the same page. You know, if you want one thing, you need everybody to be on the same page. And if you had one unit together and you're trying to take over that one unit, you might say no. But if you can split them up into all these different multitudes,
Yeah.
and then I like to refer to this as invasion with the pen, because it's always like ideological subversion, right? You heard Besman, I've talked about this before, but the ideology that's pushed, or like the narrative that's pushed, is pushed in the most optimistic way possible. And this is the power of language. They use the most optimistic language possible and the intention for good. And then, like Rob was saying, like between the lines, you're like, okay, if you want to do this, then you're going to also have to do this. And this is what you're actually saying.
It's almost like
So, like, I'm going to give an example of that would be like the Freedom Act.
the Patriot Act.
Patriot Act, sorry,
Yeah.
the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
The Patriot
Even
Act.
the term Patriot Act.
Yeah, and during
Sounds
the
like
time
something-
there was a war and there was terrorists. So it sounds
Should
like
we go into that?
we are, helping our country,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And you look into it and it's like, God, they took away a lot of your personal freedoms,
Yeah,
a lot of your
when you
individual.
when you hear the term the Patriot Act, immediately you think of, oh, that's definitely good.
Well, it's the
Of course
sense.
you would.
Right.
It's designed like that.
The thing you have to look at is just like, it's
They should have called it the "We're gonna watch you."
it's a mastermind plan though, because it's just like little by little they're taking inches, right? It's not about taking the whole mile. It's about taking inches. It's just like, okay, today we're gonna take away this. Today you're gonna be surveilled.
My favorite part
You know?
is like, the people who don't, you understand that, right? Or you see that and you're like, okay, this makes sense to me. For me, the best part is people who have picked a side. where they're left and right, and they don't see the inches,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, because the left and the right will, if you want to like go into like the tinfoil hat version of it, which is like a standpoint that I look at things from, where both sides are just slowly trying to creep away and take your freedoms while enacting some sort of show of having a very two team. You have to pick one, and they're demonizing each other. And every couple of years, we get so like tired of this party that we go to that party and back and forth, and these guys control the country and these guys control the country. But really, they're working together to slowly just take slow little inches off of your freedom. And that's what's over the course of 100 years, they'll get a lot done.
And it's just,
Ping
and it's
ponging
gonna
back
be
and
like,
forth.
when did this happen, kind of
Yeah.
thing, you know? And then it's just like it's been happening all along. You just haven't been paying attention to it, kind of thing.
But
know?
if you are paying attention to it, and you say to yourself, okay, like, you know, this is just how it's going, and you're watching slowly as the little inches get taken, you can keep ahead of the inches just by walking brisk. You know, you can watch where they're taking the inches and keep going. And it's almost like they're herding you towards something, right?
What do you think it is?
Well, that's what the conspiracy theory comes in.
I think
They're
right,
best for mankind.
this is.
I
this-
think it is mankind that they're
The best
beginning
for
to-
mankind.
This
Uh-huh.
is where the term conspiracy now starts to lose me, because this is known. This is like, I don't want to say it's public knowledge, but it's definitely common knowledge. There's bunches of people out there that knows exactly what we're talking about. And getting back to the agenda, if we want to briefly
Like
speak
a
about
bunch
the
of
World
people,
Economic Forum.
so a bunch of people being the World Economic Forum or the Davos or
Yeah.
the Geneva or any of
Yes.
these big meetups
Yeah.
where the powerful fly around
Yes.
in their private
And-
jets.
And if
Yeah.
anybody that's watching isn't aware of the WEF or the World Economic Forum, we urge you to look into it.
But honestly, the thing about it is the World Economic Forum has a plan for humanity over the course of how many years? 50?
The
Probably
one-
more, but
The
like,
one that comes to mind is the Agenda 2030 plan. That's the most common one that comes
yeah,
to mind
but
right
2030 is just one of
It's the first step.
2040,
Yeah,
2050.
50.
They have plans for every decade.
Pretty
Yeah.
milestone. It's like
So-
milestone things,
yes.
you know?
now. Exactly.
Just
Or-
how like when you know like how the stones were blown up, what are they called?
The Georgia Guidestone.
Yeah, how they were blown up.
Yeah.
It's just like little by little, it's like things are starting to happen, and it's just like
Yeah.
the balls
But
escalating.
and
rolling,
this is
rolling.
the point, right? Where do you draw the line, and where do you say like, okay, this is more of a plan than a coincidence, right? Because the World Economic Forum, they'll tell you that they've got a 50-year plan.
Yeah.
If you
100%.
tell someone else that they've got a 50-year plan, they'll think you're crazy.
Yeah.
But
But whoever.
when you wear the tinfoil hat and you tell everybody that there's 50 years
Yeah, it's all a lie.
planned by the World Economic Forum, who house some of the biggest and
Richest
most
companies.
powerful company CEOs and lobbyists, politicians around the world.
Just to touch on that briefly, sorry, Dan, to speak over you. The World Economic Forum is comprised, just like you said, of the 1,000 richest companies on the planet. 1,000, right? So you think about Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Bank of America, BlackRock. That's 5.
And
There's
they've got
995 others.
and they've got little splinter organizations like the Young Leaders,
Future leaders,
Future Leaders.
who most leaders now in power were a part of. Justin
Yeah.
Trudeau was one.
Putin,
Putin was one. Leo Varadkar's the Taoiseach of Ireland is one.
the Chancellor for Germany, she is one.
That's invasion by the pen, if you ask me.
It's honestly invasion by the pen, but
Or is it organization?
it's invasion by the
Because
organization. That's
shouldn't
what I was gonna say.
somebody have agendas organized? Like, wouldn't it be more strange if no organization had a 50-year plan on the whole planet?
That's what I say. If you run a business, you have a 5-year plan, you have a 10-year plan, you have a 15-year plan, you have a 20-year plan. You're gonna tell me that
How are you going to link up these
if you're
1,000
running
richest
the
people?
world, that you're not gonna have a plan for 10 years from now, 20 years, 30 now. So like you have that plan, but the problem is now that these politicians and all the government officials are actually implementing their plan through corporations, because the corporations don't have any legal boundaries that these politicians and government officials have. So if they can get a corporation to make it happen, which they do, their plan takes effect.
Interesting.
So it's not our rights are slowly being taken away, not by, like, for instance, when we sign into an app, we give our consent for all our information to be shared.
Oh yeah, we've probably consented to everything that could possibly happen to you badly already without knowing.
Exactly,
probably
but
already
it's
have a
through
clone of you and
it's
you
through
don't even know.
corporations. It's not through the government.
Yeah. But they're-
Directly.
But that's the funny part. They're not lying to you about it.
No,
They're
no.
like,
I think
here is
I
our
think
terms and conditions.
I think part of the
This
thing
is the
is
terms and
that they
conditions.
have to tell you.
Click this box. Okay, click.
I think one of the things is that they have to tell you, that
Yeah.
this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's like if it sounds outlandish, you're going to believe it's outlandish. You're going to be like, "There's no way," this kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's how like the Denver airport, for example, has like a bunch of conspiracy theories about like why it was built and everything, but
And the
a lot of
paintings.
it is just like they've taken that and used it as almost free advertisement. Like they've taken the conspiracy theories, they've looked into it and everything, and they've disputed them.
The old
but they're
start
using it.
conspiracy theory
Yeah.
about yourself for marketing.
And now they're like marketing is that as part of like that's just that's the
Pizzagate.
thing.
Speaking of Sound of Freedom, yeah, but like the Pizzagate. Remember the Pizzagate?
I've heard of Pizzagate. I
Pizzagate
remember
was like when the conspiracy that like all these rich, powerful politicians were going to like the basement of some terrible pizzeria in like the back ass of some state, and
This is in
basically in DC, right? And basically there's like, pizza being like young kids in the basement, and that's what they were doing. They're like hooking up with young kids, doing drag shows and weird stuff like that. But I bet the pizzeria is busy as F right now. Right? Like, I would definitely go to that pizzeria if I lived around there. I'd be like, let me get some.
Yeah,
Let
next
me
time
see
we
what's
go-
up.
next
Let
time
me
we
see
Yeah,
go
why
and
are
take
all
it.
these politicians in here?
Yeah, next time we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have seen some weird stuff about that, like very, very strange stuff about it. I also heard that the story was, so apparently when the story came out, there was some guy who got so mad he went and he like tried to shoot it
Yeah.
up. But apparently the story goes he only fired one bullet, right? And then the bullet happened to hit a hard drive in the office,
Interesting.
And just blew up a computer.
pretty much.
I like that.
But the guy who owns the pizzeria is what's his name again? I can't think of his name. I'm terrible with names. But the guy is known as like I think he's known as one of the most powerful people in DC. This pizza shop owner. James Alefantis, yes, one of the most powerful people in DC, who just owns a pizzeria. Imagine if
If
one
I
of us
was-
were the most powerful people in White Plains.
I'd own a pizzeria.
If you were the most powerful person in White Plains,
Yeah.
you'd own a pizzeria.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I would own like
Coffee shop.
no, I don't like all the car parks or something, all the parking lots.
Yeah.
Something mad. I'm like, you're not parking this thing until I say so.
No, man, you want to own a pizzeria. That way you can put kids in the basement and sell them. Because here's the
Moving
thing about
on.
kids, right? Like, you can only sell a bag of cocaine one time. Right? You can-
No.
yeah.
I've seen it go multiple times.
Yeah, if you sell like a bag of weed, that's the bag of weed gone. But if you sell the kid, you still got the kid afterwards. You keep selling it.
You could keep selling it.
Yeah, you can just keep selling that kid. So that's what's up.
This is the importance of that movie that everybody's been going crazy about.
So
Sound of
why not
Freedom
own a
lately.
pizza shop, right?
Well, you can say
Rent
the
the
same.
basement out,
I don't know.
sell pizza.
Possibly. I don't know. I don't have I suppose the
What about the
dark
emails?
spark to be able to sell children.
The emails that
No.
are linked
I
to
couldn't do it.
Pizzagate.
There's a lot of emails. Right?
There are a lot of emails.
But you might get suicided if you speak about them emails.
I think you're too small to be suicidal.
I'm too small.
Speak about it
This
all
is
you
my
want.
entry and
And
exit
you
out
do
of the
have
Matrix.
a tinfoil hat on.
Yeah.
So it is okay to talk about. Tell us more about the emails.
Oh no, I don't know anything, man. Listen, I don't know anything about anything. Listen.
No, if you lose emails, you just pay a fine. That's all that happens.
Okay, so getting back to our conversation about the World Economic Forum a couple of minutes ago, we were speaking about the plans, all right, the 2030 plans, 2040 plans, 2050 plans, and I read the executive chairman's book. His name is
2050,
Klaus
no
Schwab.
flights.
There's a lot of restrictions coming into play by 2050, and just to give a little bit of pushback.
No public flights.
There's a lot of things that he mentions in the book that has to be considered.
Yeah.
For example, what we have right now is we have the Actor and Writers Guild strike. All actors and writers have completely seized a strike. And
Because ChatGPT got them.
ChatGPT got them, AI is starting to get them. But he mentions this in the book. He's like, all of these technologies will be coming out over the course of the next 20 years, and you have to plan for them in the future. This is another reason why, I just remember wearing the tinfoil hat now, is that they want to depopulate the planet, is because by like 2030, 2040, and 2050, a significant percentage of all the jobs that are available
Won't be
today
needed.
will be gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
I believe it.
Like I was just saying, like right now in front of our eyes, graphic designers aren't needed anymore. Soon, copywriters won't be needed anymore.
You ever play Fallout?
I play Fallout.
Right. What age was Fallout set in?
Find out for you right now.
Right, because you ever see in Fallout, every now and then you'll run into an old house and they'll have one of them robots that does everything for all the people.
So like an AI butler.
It's like an AI butler. But
I
I'm
like
like,
that.
how long is it away from having like this AI butler who'll cook you anything you want, make you any drink you want, clean your house, walk your dog?
That's the start of ChatGTP, though.
That's what I'm saying,
That's
right?
the start of it.
Like ChatGPT can already tell you how to do all that stuff.
Fallout 2 takes place in 2241, 80 years after the events of Fallout.
Yeah. So around 160.
Yeah.
You know what that? Well, can you repeat that number? 2,241. Oh,
We will be long gone.
Checking for secret
Yeah.
numbers hidden in there.
I'm checking for secret numbers. You know,
That's why you got
just
on the
making sure.
tinfoil hat. Yeah,
I just
I
got the
seen 'em.
tinfoil on. No?
You got to check.
I
for
see
it.
a 12 here. I see 4 men here.
You got to see that
No.
for the flower.
But all of these scenarios are taking place, and I think for us to disregard long-term planning is like a peasant's mindset. I'm sorry, I hope I don't offend any of you guys or anybody who listening, but we're basically we are the peasants. We just live in the one of the most richest places on the planet. We live in Westchester County in New York City, but we still are the lower class of society. We're just trying to get by, essentially. You know, so planning long term for us is such a foreign concept. We work from Monday to Friday. We either check on Friday, and that's as far away as you look. You look.
Hope
from,
you don't get sick and enjoy the ride.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas people who use their time are like, okay, I can plan 10 years ahead, 40 years ahead, and then organizations can think hundreds of years into the future.
What about the writers, the ancient writers and the philosophers who were thinking generations ahead?
You know what's funny?
But they wouldn't have been peasants. They
You
would
know
have
what's
been
funny to
royals.
think about, right? So you have like philosophers of all time, right?
Yeah.
And in the future, we have a writer strike going on. Like, how much writing and philosophy is going to be done by AI from here on out?
All of it.
Right. So how little will be done by people? So in like 100 years, you're going to have like these people who are like so unphilosophical. Like, you know,
Don't have an ideology.
they'll just be like blank slates. Because if you need any philosophy, like you'd go to your computer or your ChatGPT, right? Whereas like up until now, you had to read that. You had to go and find that information. You had to absorb it.
I think that's when the new age starts. It's so funny how you say blank slate. In art, there's a term called tabula rasa, which is basically like starting from fresh all over, like again.
Say it
Like
again?
Tabula rasa.
Tabula
So, and it's just like starting and creating something new, you know. And in that sense, that's interesting.
It will be.
Cool. So, do you think it'll get to the point where AI is conducting and AI is like the one writing the future? Will it write the future if we're not writing it?
They're gonna use our past, and like they're gonna all the information from the past. They're not gonna come up with new information. I don't believe. I think they're gonna use all the information from the past so much better than people are using it right now, and they'll use it so much better than the people in the future are gonna just give up when they see what this is doing, and then it's gonna seem like this is godlike, and that people really won't know that it's just utilizing all these old philosophers, all these, you know, I don't think it's going to come up with new philosophy.
Well, that's essentially what it is. Like now, it's like
Oh, yeah, that is what
how
ChatGPT
it sounds
does.
like a human, but it's because it's from text written from humans.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is that like there's been cases where people have asked like ChatGTP about like some like court cases, and it's pulled up scripts from like fiction novels and stuff, and uses it as almost like, or it writes it in the sense that it's like real information or real.
It probably
life
just
status.
it probably just isn't fine tuned enough yet. Where
Yeah.
it can,
No,
like-
not as of yet.
We're still at a very early stage, you know. Still at a very early
Well,
stage.
think about it this way. Remember when Google first came out?
Mhm.
Like I remember Google when it like first came out, and I was like, "Oh, this is great."
I remember when the internet first
That's
came
what
out.
I'm saying. And
The
now
dial,
it's
the
like,
dial-up,
now we
And it took forever, and it was like little bits at a time.
loading,
Yeah,
loading.
look at it now. Is it in everybody's hand? You have like a supercomputer. Boom, 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 boom. Send.
Right.
Up. There you go.
Yeah, but now you
Nuts.
question the information in your hand, right? Like there was a time where you would say Google it, and you would just like, no matter what, believe that this is the truth. Now there's times where I look up Google and I look at the first like 4 things, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about these 4 things. These could be advertisements.
Mm.
Like these could be written by, you know, even if you Google now, like, oh, top 10 whatever men's razors, you're going to get like actual advertisements from different websites, right? Whereas you used to get like actual information. Now it's just
I
advertising.
think it also does that with like if you Google something and I Google something, you'll get those 5 generic top 5 advertisements, and then the next 5 will probably be like things that cater to you, like your specific beliefs and your specific ideologies, how they're listening to you, and like all the things that you search up gravitate towards what you would cater to in a sense. You know?
It all leads to the biggest conspiracy of all. We're getting a chip in our hands or in our head, right?
I was already chipped, man.
Right, because your phone's just essentially like a microchip. If you had something that was a chip that could just go in your body and could do everything your phone could do, like you could just have a flash in front of you and you could do everything, that's it, right? That's when it's over. That not over, but that's like the big conspiracy theory, right?
Yeah,
But then they'd know everything you want.
Elon Musk spoke about this in the Lex Friedman podcast a while ago. He said that your phone is essentially already an extension of you. He says the only problem with the phone is that the bandwidth is very slow. And by bandwidth, he means it takes a while for you to pull your phone out. You got to put in your passcode. You got to open up. You got to go over to the app. You got to search the app. You got to type in whatever you want with 2 thumbs, sometimes 1 thumb, which is a big step down from searching something on your
Or
keyboard.
just speaking.
But if he can increase the bandwidth so that all that's instantaneous, that's the next step. And even if you were just looking at it as a basic product, you're like, okay, how do we make this product better?
I think there was
The
somebody
mark
already,
of the
problems is-
beast.
somebody was
And then
already
on
working on
every
leads
that.
to that.
man.
Yeah,
Where
it
they were
leads to
saying like
that.
the next phone isn't going to be a physical thing, but it's going to be like inside your head, where like you can look at your phone, like where you look at your hand, and your hand is almost like the screen,
Yeah, it just
kind
pops
of
up.
thing, right?
And at that point, why even look at your hand?
So we're just gonna.
Have no
Is that the
hands.
path of humanity? Is just to integrate into technology and just become the technology?
But eventually, yeah, you're going to have like the whole cyborg, right? Like you're definitely, why would we not use like technology to give people back a limbs or organs or
We're doing that
facilitate?
as we speak.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm.
At what point do they get like bionic?
I'm telling you, that's in the next 20, 30 years.
It's
That's
a-
what I'm
it's-
saying. I'm
it's halfway
planning
there
on
now.
living
I
forever.
mean, we're halfway.
I'm
there
telling you,
already.
we're gonna have hearts. We're gonna have different organs that are like all mechanical.
Mm.
Like if you don't,
What about
think
non-mechanical things?
But will
Things
you
that
get
come
the
from,
chip
like,
in you?
Other
the
places.
chip, it's gonna listen. It's gonna do. They're gonna do it the same way they did it with COVID. You can't take a plane over here if you don't have that chip. You can't go. You can't go to the store if you don't have this chip. You can't buy anything because you don't have the chip. That's a digital currency of money now.
Can you fake the chip?
But that's
No,
when
you
that's
can't
when
fake the
code is
chip.
like
You can't
like
fake the
Neo
chip.
from the Matrix are gonna come in handy and you're gonna go looking for Neo.
The
What
Matrix
if you're,
was
what
a
if you're
one.
good at technology? Can you fake it then
Can you fake the chip?
and crack it?
I don't know.
But then why even live in a world where you're faking a chip? Right?
Well, that's when you actually.
Well,
steal
if you crack the
people and you
chip,
steal
they're
their
going to
chips.
come to you and they're going to be like, "How'd you crack this chip?" And they might recruit you.
Well, why crack the chip? Why don't you just take their hand and put it over your hand, and now you have a new chip?
Or you just recluse out into the wilderness,
Mm.
try to get land,
That's my goal.
Self-sufficient.
self-sufficient.
That's what they don't want. That's why they're taking away the food.
What do you mean they're taking away the food?
Well,
Tell us more with your tinfoil hat.
you're from Ireland, aren't you? They're about to make you guys
Last
slaughter
time I checked.
200,000 cows.
Yeah,
Why? To fit the global warming plan that is made for each
Ireland
each
is
state.
heavily influenced by the EU. The EU is completely influenced by
And there's some
NATO,
scientists that say
all that stuff.
killing 200,000 cows is not going to make a dent
No,
into the.
Just to speak on that.
where's
point
the
real quick.
vegans?
Just to speak on that point real quick. 200,000 cows, right? One cow, they say, after deboned and after been chopped and after been sourced for all of its meat, can provide about 500 pounds a year. That's one cow can provide 500 pounds of meat. 500 pounds of meat. If one person is eating a pound of meat every single day, can get you over a year and a half worth of food supply.
Yeah.
And that's one cow.
You need a big fridge for that, though.
You need a lot.
And
But
you
you
need
know-
to be eating all the cow.
Well, you gotta eat the whole cow. You eat the organs, eat the beef, eat the burgers, eat everything. What I'm saying is like 200,000 cows times 500 pounds. That's a lot of fucking meat, and you're
Yeah.
just gonna get rid of that.
Maybe,
this is
why don't they
absolutely
just
crazy.
give the cows away, make people self-sufficient? Say, here's
Well,
2 cows, here's 2 cows,
That's
here's 2
it's
cows.
happening in a
But-
lot of Europe now. You have it happening in it's
But
in the
that's
Netherlands.
absolutely-
It happens
that's
as well.
fucking
with
mad.
farmers.
But we slaughter the cows anyway. I mean,
But all right, but that's the main thing. Back to
In
the
Ireland
food.
now, they pay farmers to not farm. They'll pay
They do.
you to hold land and not farm on.
Yeah,
So it's the same thing. It's like you're essentially getting like chastised for being like efficient and raising a load of cows, and then if you don't work, you're being negligent to your land.
Yeah.
You get paid.
you know, in the last couple of weeks, like I've been telling you boys, I've been looking up a lot about the world wars, and you see like the same patterns start to emerge all the time. And something we completely overlook is the food supply.
Mm-hmm.
The food supply is something that's so essential, but it's just so common. Like we don't even think about it. Our food going scarce, never. But in all wars, there's always a siege or always some naval fleet that comes around that stops imports coming into the country. They ban that. But now, in Ireland, they've legislated that Ireland has to kill 200,000 cows. That is a year and a half. That is a year and a half's worth of food for one person if they eat 1 pound of beef every single year for 200,000 people. And there's a pound a day. That's a lot of food.
So realistically, we're talking about like 600,000 people for a year.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
food
actually,
for 600,000
I believe
people
I've
for
read
1
that
year.
Ireland actually outsources their meat from Brazil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
So why would you guys kill 200,000 cows?
It's absolutely
It
ridiculous.
doesn't add up.
It's ridiculous.
But that's a conspiracy, isn't it?
It's an
No.
and it's back to what I say. It's invasion by the pen. They've formed a group and they've made a rule, and it's like you can't do this anymore. And then here's the fucking legislation. And they look at the legislation and they're, oh shit, we just got to follow the legislation. And then they stop doing that.
you ever love it when people say, like, when you look at the police and they're just like, just follow what they say, and you won't get in trouble, and you won't get hurt.
But that's
Kind
the,
of
that's,
thing.
the,
It's-
that's the way it works.
It's essentially what's happening, you know.
Yeah, that's not how it goes.
It's like comply or
Or die.
it's essentially comply or die.
Well, like
That's it.
you have to comply with society and how it is, or else you don't get to live. Really, like we're the one. Every animal just gets its whole living and shelter from nature.
Well, it's like we're the only animal on this planet that pays to live here,
Yeah,
that pays to eat here,
yeah.
you know,
Drink.
pays to drink here.
But again, like that's they don't want us to be self-sufficient. We can't collect rainwater, something that comes naturally,
here's
falls
the
out
best
of
one.
the
You don't
sky.
wanna drink
Have they
rainwater.
has it went further than that?
Do I not
Could
want to drink
could
rainwater?
people be self-sufficient? How many people, if you gave them the opportunity to be, couldn't be? How many people do you
They
think
wouldn't.
would fail?
They wouldn't.
Even if you gave them all the stuff.
if
I
you
think-
drop somebody into the wilderness right now, like let's say the forest, or like
Not
the
even.
woods,
I'm not even saying
you'd be
drop them into the wilderness. I'm saying
He's saying give it to them.
Imagine I gave you like a cabin with a big shed with everything you need to butcher, with a little bit of land, everything you need to farm, and just said go. How many people wouldn't be able to get it to work?
most people.
So this is
Yeah, I've done
they,
it before.
so they don't even need to deter most people at this point. They've gotten everybody to the point where it's like your dog.
You're
being-
reliant.
Reliant,
on
yeah.
these
We
people.
already can't. We already can't cook without like
Mm-hmm.
ovens.
Can even most people start a fire?
I just started fire.
Most people can't even cook even if they have an oven.
Not in a public
Right?
space.
Not,
That's true.
not like a lot of people can't
Yeah.
cook even in a house with
Well,
all
that-
the
but it's-
utensils
it's-
and utilities.
It's what you look at, like, all right, we have this joke about saying how we're always looking for the work,
Yeah.
you know? And I think one of the things that people don't realize is that, like, everything you do in this life is work.
Yeah.
So,
Everything.
like, everything you do in this life is
Everything.
work. So, like, how you're saying, if you were given that cabin, like, most people have acclimated to this lifestyle where they have everything at hand, you know?
Right. Most people want that cabin and then they want to order Pizza Hut. while
Yeah,
they sit in the
exactly.
cabin.
Yeah,
point,
that's what
you
it
know?
is. That's
But
exactly
like
what it is.
you can't. You have to go to the cabin now, and you have to build a fire, and you have to catch an animal, and you have to gut the animal, and you have to kill the animal. And now
That's a
we have
day's
to-
work.
Before we even eat it, we have to store all the excess stuff that we're
But I
not going to
think
eat.
you would be
right?
happier at the end of the day
Yes,
if
absolutely.
you did all that.
Yes.
Why
You'd be
though?
more grateful.
Right,
But
but
why
you
would
have
you
to
have
be.
that?
You have to be able to do it all.
Why would
This
you be
is the
happy
thing.
though?
Many
I
people-
think there's multiple
It's
reasons why you'd be
it's
happy.
fulfillment of your soul.
Fulfillment, but I also think there's natural chemicals inside your body that are released when you're doing work.
Yeah, no, definitely.
When you're doing physical activity.
I
Like,
believe there's
I
a
agree with
reason
that.
why there's tribes that don't want anything to do with our
100%.
society.
100%.
They're happy.
But they're gonna get they're gonna be institutionalized eventually. It's like look at the Aboriginals in Australia. They're not really allowed to stay living how they are in this society, how it is anymore. It's
Man, at
not
one point they were
like
taking
even
their kids.
animals. Like look how many animals get killed by highways and farming and everything.
The
It's
government's
like,
like, this is
they
not the
can't-
way to raise a child. You're not feeding
Yeah.
it poison. You're not feeding it red dye. You're not
Yeah.
feeding it this. We can raise a child correctly for you.
And I
You're a
want you to
savage.
too.
listen.
But while I'm
I want you
waiting,
to do.
while I'm waiting,
I think you
ever
would
see
be
the
happier
Ru-
because
the
you're,
Ruby
you're given
Ridge?
a purpose.
Yes.
The work that you have to do is purposeful and very plain and simple. If you do not do this, you are going to die.
Yeah.
100%.
That's very
Alright,
simple.
Imagine
have you
doing it
ever,
for a
have you ever
family.
seen the Ruby Ridge?
Is Ruby Ridge our boy that his family was attacked?
Yeah.
Tell us, Dana.
So
Is this a conspiracy, Mr. Tinfoil Hat?
this
No.
is a conspiracy, but also it's like not
it
a
happened,
conspiracy.
though.
It definitely happened. But
How is it a
like,
conspiracy if it actually happened?
Because he's wearing a tinfoil hat.
I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, one, and two, because the portrayal of the fact that we're gonna go with the government did it on purpose, as opposed to like this is something that happened. It had to happen, and it just happened to go down in the wrong set of circumstances.
Okay.
Or there is a vicious, like totalitarian government that you don't cross, and when you do cross, they fucking fuck you up. You know, so it depends. But Ruby Ridge was like basically you had a guy, he was a Green Beret, you know, went to Vietnam, came back from Vietnam, moved off grid, wanted to live off grid, bought a little lot up, you know, in the middle of nowhere, lived up there with his wife and his kids, and he had one or two friends. Eventually, like, the FBI were wondering, like, what's this guy up to, you know?
What's this guy doing on his own land?
Yeah, basically, what's he doing, getting off grid or whatever. And they basically set up like a friendship snare where they were like trying to befriend them with dudes, like not many dudes in the neighborhood, or you know, you're out in the middle of nowhere, and so they befriend this guy and they start trying to get him to alter guns because they know his background and this and that. And he's like, no, I'm not doing it, blah blah blah. And then eventually, after a couple of years, like gets to know the guys real well. He like, you know, starts changing around the stocks on guns and doing things that you shouldn't do with guns being illegal. But I don't believe he was doing it like for mass distribution. I think he just did it for like, you know,
was a
you did
favor.
it for me,
Yeah,
right?
it was a favor kind of
whatever.
thing.
But it's also kind of entrapment because the people trying to get him to do it are also FBI
They're in.
agents, right?
Imagine like you thinking you have a friend for like 7 years. They've been working a case on you to get you to. Freaking
Well, that's
Yeah, well,
essentially
it
what
wasn't
it
that
is.
long, but that's what they
That's-
do.
that's
right?
essentially
So
what they do, you know?
This dude eventually, you know, eventually the police come and they want to like raid and check out what's going on in his property. He doesn't recognize the police. There's a standoff. Whatever happens, his son gets into like a shoot off. His son's like 11 or something. Gets into a shoot off with a bunch of like, you know, FBI agents or was it firearms, tobacco, the FTA,
ATF.
ATF, yeah, gets into the shoot off with the
Alcohol,
ATF.
tobacco, fire.
Yeah, basically like they call in the whole 9 yards, you know, and the kid is running around with a dog in the forest. He scares a couple of the agents and him get into a shoot off. They kill the kid, kill the dog. One of the agents gets hit. Next thing you know, it all like, you know, all hell breaks loose. It gets like really intense. The dad's shooting at the agents, or, you know, then there's a standoff again. The wife comes out and the wife is holding like a 9-month-old baby. They shoot the wife while she's holding the baby. All this, basically it unfolds, you know. They call in like his superior officer from the army when he was training, talks him down, de-escalates the whole situation, gets it down. Eventually it turns out that like they dropped the charges on this dude.
So he just got his whole family massacred for no
His
reason.
whole family died.
Wow.
Right. And then that's like, it's unfortunate events, or it's like ruthless, like,
Overreaching.
Display
Yeah.
of power.
yeah, because you can't be living off grid, right? Like that's not how we're designing things. or it's like, you know, a very unpleasant circumstantial set of events that just happened to lead to this outcome. And the guy, he only died like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
He only died a couple of years ago. So it's like
What
he
did he
did-
do? What did he do after all that? Do you know? Like after those scenarios,
Honestly,
did he
I never even looked
did
into
he
what
just
he
fall
did.
into line? or
I
did
just
he do-
remember hearing the story a couple of times and being like, wow, that's a crazy
But then
story.
that's when you like shatter a man's will to live and just like this is it, you know.
But do you
comply.
create something crazy?
You could,
kill
potentially.
Dozer from that, or do you?
Yeah, that's what I would have did.
Nah, I think you're past Killdozer. Killdozer is another good one though, right?
That is a good one. But if I was that guy and they killed my whole family, I have nothing left. I'm Killdozing that though.
You'd be like Rambo,
Yeah.
especially the dude that has the
I
skills.
think the
John
baby's
Wick.
not dead.
Oh, the baby.
I think his baby, one of his babies, is not dead. So, like, you know, you got the baby to look after.
Hmm.
Oh, they're smart. They did that on purpose.
Tinfoil hat time.
just for that time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not.
But this is like, that's normal occurrence in other countries, right? Like, I'm sure, where is it? Like North Korea, they just come snatch you up. They're like, oh, yeah, you said something wrong to the
No,
neighbor.
man, I don't think so. Like, I don't think in like when you're in North Korea, you have the ability to do that.
Yeah, there's no standoff.
Yeah, they're like
They
there is
just
none.
come and take
yeah,
you.
they'll just come and take you. But not only that, like the mere thought of you trying to have a standoff with anybody, or the mere thought like would just get you
Yeah,
and your family, like the rest of your generations to come. It's like-
everybody's done.
yeah, everybody's
This is
done.
like this point we were bringing up earlier on about the power of language. I don't think they even have the word for rebellion or the word for resistance. Like
They've taken
they've
some of the
taken it out.
words.
So they can't even sit and have a conversation about these things because there's no word in their language to
Have-
describe this.
Have you seen that thing where they're saying how I forget who
The conspiracy theory of Kim
Her
Jong
name.
Un doesn't poo.
That lady that escaped was like
Yeah, yeah.
the only ones that escaped.
Yeah,
But essentially, she
She's a
said
liar.
that like
is she?
Is she?
that one of the ways they disprove like mathematics up in the West is that like 1 + 1 = 2, and like they did like a water droplet, and they're like, if you add another water droplet, it's still just one water droplet. It just got slightly bigger, but it's still one. So 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 to them. It's like
Wow.
That's an example that they would use to just destroy.
kind of in a
Basis
sense,
of
yeah, in a
math.
sense.
But did anyone come along then and divide it into two? Like you come
You
along
could.
with like
I
a
mean-
little razor and
Man,
just
we-
like divide the
Man,
water
1
droplet
+ 1
into
only
two.
equals 2 because we say it does.
Yeah, well that's
Like
it, right?
that's it. So like
I don't know if I do a 1 and 1 and then that looks like 2 to me. You know what I'm saying?
That looks like
But
one.
this looks like one.
Not really.
this look
Not really. That looks like a funny looking 2.
that kind of looks like his tinfoil hat, man.
You're not wrong.
It's not like this.
You know, this leads us into the whole like CIA thing and the power that they have, and their ability to affect geopolitical environments.
Well,
They're essentially like a government inside the government.
I want
right?
to just touch
They're
on
like
like
the real
how like with like these events that are going on right now with the Biden administration and how like the FBI was censoring what was going on Twitter and on Facebook on like, you know,
The Twitter files.
they basically told us what we can and cannot see, and like basically that just makes us just like China. And we're at that point where our rights we're giving up our rights to that point
Do you-
where
do you
Yeah,
think
but it's
Elon's
not.
in it?
My thing is like it's not just the Biden administration. It
Well,
might,
I'm not
it
saying
might
that,
have
but-
fallen under their time,
No, you know
but
what
we
it is?
know it's like
They were-
overall the government is only gonna let you see what they want you to
Yes.
see.
They're just the sloppiest at it. That's what it is. You know how like somebody could be really, really good at a job. They're just like sloppy at it.
Yeah,
Like it's sloppy at covering.
we
it
just
up.
caught them, so it looks like they started doing it.
Yeah,
What about the whole cocaine in the White House thing?
they found more. They found marijuana too.
They found everything. And they're like,
Nice. I'm
who
surprised.
Owns,
Like,
who owns this cocaine?
when was the last time
Oh,
they
we
did a
know.
drug check in the White House? There's probably drugs in the White House all the time.
But now if
No
somebody
one's
else
leaving
found
it around.
You're
now we
ripping off a
can't- we
line
can't
of the-
find out
the
who
Oval.
owns this. Psh, ridiculous.
But like, when there's people having sex in the White House all the time, right? Throughout the years,
yeah,
how many presidents would you
Bill
reckon?
Clinton,
I don't give a shit about the cocaine.
Who
I
else?
want to know about the damn
JFK,
rings
Bill
of children that
Clinton,
are going around.
J-
Donald Trump was
JFK,
definitely railing.
Donald Trump, but
Do you know Donald Trump's 6'3"?
is he?
Big dude,
He is a big dude.
fucking big
We're
dude.
going off course here.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just. but anyway, so sorry. Go ahead.
I wasn't saying anything. I'm just like we're all scattered.
That is also a conspiracy theory, by the way. We don't know the true size of Donald Trump.
6'3" is a big ass dude.
How tall is Joe Biden?
He's definitely not 6'3".
How do you know?
Because there's no way.
Are those two different measurements right there?
But it does mention how they control the geopolitical
Joe Biden 6 foot. That's healthy.
short arse.
That's healthy. 6 foot's healthy.
Yeah, 6 foot's good. But yeah, it does bring us into the thing of how the CIA are essentially the runners of the government. And if you were going to run a country for the longevity of the country, you can't have somebody in charge for 1 year.
Well, think
or
about it
for
this way,
4
right?
years for
Right.
one term, and then
Russia is
anything can happen.
more, in my opinion, like Russia is more open about what they're doing, because imagine if the head of the CIA rose to power now and was like, okay, I'm the president. I was already the president, but now I'm just going to tell you. Like, you ever see what is the one? You ever see like in the Wicked with the Wicked Witch of the West? Blah blah blah.
You mean the Wizard of Oz?
Wizard of Oz. You've got like your man sitting in like the little cloakroom and he's projecting this big face.
Yeah.
That's essentially like what the CIA does in America with like all of the politics. Right? It's like they just like, okay, here's the people who pretend they're running it, and here we are over here. We're the people who shoot the ones who don't do what we say.
Well, it's
Right.
like it's a business essentially. Think about
Yeah,
it.
but then you have it in Russia. It's like that's like literally what happened. You got Putin, who used to be the head of the Russian.
It's not the KGB because there's a new term for it.
but he
It's like
was the
F-
KGB, right?
It's basically the KGB.
he was the head of the
switched into a
KGB.
different organization.
And then he became the leader and was like, you know what, I'm just going to tell you, like, I'm the head of the KGB, and by the way, I'm now your president, and this is how we run things. Whereas in America right now, we've got like the CIA is kind of prodding around and telling politicians what they shouldn't do
But
or
there's something
say,
about it.
but they're pretending they're not.
You ever hear what Putin said about the U.S. government?
Yeah, the black
Yeah.
briefcase.
The black briefcase thing. He said he was bringing this up an example. And he says that whoever's the standing president of the United States isn't really in charge.
Oh no,
And he
that somebody
says-
comes in
Exactly.
and basically
He says-
lays it down and says, "This is what we're gonna do."
He says, take Barack Obama for example. He says he's a forward-thinking, open-minded, liberal leader, and he says he's going to bring in all these different policies, X, Y, and Z. And did he bring in any of them? He's like, no. And he says the reason being is because when he was brought into power after all the ceremony, they bring him into the fucking White House or bring him into the Oval Office, and some dude with a black briefcase comes down and slams on the counter. He's like, this is how we run shit. This is how it's done. And then, like I said, if you were going to only be in power for 4 years, like that's one of the things that's great about the States.
There
is that
has to
anybody can
be
become
there
president.
has to be a shepherd.
You have to.
You can't just let every 4 years a new guy come in and take over everything.
Yeah,
Do you know how
have to
frustrating
have-
it is that people actually believe that their vote counts?
Well, like, your vote does count. It's just if what you're voting for actually matters.
Don't say the vote counts. Please
You know?
don't say
Well,
that.
no, but that's what I'm saying.
Votes
It's
have
like
been tampered
like,
for
your
with throughout history.
your vote. Let's say your vote does count. Let's say we just pick. Let's say it's like right. Let's say I'm running the show, and James is on the right and Julio's on the left, and both of them are the candidates. But both of them come and sit down at this table with me, and we decide what's going to happen regardless of who wins. And then everybody votes. Their votes matter because now I have to tell James, hey, by the way, you're going to have to do this, as opposed to telling Julio, hey, by the way, you're going to have to do this. But at the end of the day, whatever objective I give these guys is what is going to get done regardless.
Stalin is quoted in saying that the power of the election doesn't rely on who makes the votes, but who counts
counts
the votes.
Oh, I just saw something about Stalin that was pretty shocking. He had a wife that died, and he said there was no point in, he couldn't find the urge to live anymore,
Wow.
and then that's why he was so cold.
Wasn't he Russian, though?
Yeah.
They're like that.
He's pretty cold, isn't he? He's
Yeah.
cold over there.
I don't know.
The same
man.
thing happened with Napoleon. I was just speaking about Napoleon earlier on before we started. He, after becoming a very, very, very successful general,
Yeah.
like winning all these massive military battles, they couldn't be defeated for years. All of Europe was like fearful of this guy and tried to take him down several times. There's the name is like the third continent or something. There's a term that they give for all the battles where they try to take out Napoleon. There was 5 of them in a row, and he won every single one of them. Where all of Europe took him down. Anyway, I'm sidetracking. But after he was made general, he wanted to run France, so he wanted the term emperor. He's like, emperor. I'm not the first consul, the emperor. And he was like, we'll have a democratic vote. And then the vote was like 99.9% of the vote went to Napoleon.
Emperor
Because
Napoleon.
wink wink. He's like, it definitely wasn't rigged. 99% of the vote, are you crazy?
Yeah.
But that happened like 250 years ago. Stalin is saying the same thing. And is it really unlikely that votes can be tampered with? I don't think it's unlikely at all. If it's happened all of these
The
times,
fact that I can think about it just means that it's easy.
it can be done.
Yeah.
Now, use with that information how you want. I'm just saying it has been done.
Not only has it been done, it will be done again, and it forever shall be done.
And again and again and again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So
like,
how do we stop it? How do we beat the World Economic Forum?
we
You
don't.
don't.
Oh, you don't.
You stop
Okay,
participating.
Yeah,
Stop
well,
we get a.
that's it. We don't
get some land?
participate. But one of the big ones coming up is the cashless society.
Mm.
Every time you
Yeah.
spend a little bit, you give money away. Like just when you have the like once it's cashless, every time you have a transaction, you get charged for a transaction.
Yes, so it
So you're
just
not
keeps
just getting
revolving.
Yeah, you're not just
Yeah.
getting charged for your.
Yeah.
The banks end up
Yeah.
with all the money because that $50 doesn't end up being a $50 anymore. If you get $50, I'd give it to you. You charge me 1.3%. Then you use the $50 with Julio. You charge him 1.3%. Eventually, that $50 diminishes to nothing,
Good point.
and the bank ends up with all the money.
And you're also paying sales tax.
Exactly.
Yeah, any transaction is double swiped. No, triple swiped, because the person who made that money has to pay tax on that money too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then at the end of the year, we got to pay that too.
And then we give that money to the Ukraine.
And America
growing.
became America off of a 3% tax.
It's crazy, right?
And look how much we're getting taxed now.
Yeah, I love it.
Are we patriots anymore? I don't know.
We were artists at one point.
I like being the artist.
Now, sheep.
I'd prefer to be the architect.
The architect. All right, lads. Well, my head's getting real hot inside this tinfoil hat now. So, I think we're going to polish off. It's going to be the end of the tinfoil hat episode. Beating it back again next week. Thanks for joining us, lads.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you,
Rob
folks.
Vieira.
All right.
All right,
Yeah.
folks.
My-
Thank you so
my
much.
hat's-